Hello everyone, welcome to Integrated Medical Biochemistry with Dr. Bijoya. Hello everyone, today's topic is serum electrolytes, ion selective electrode. Now, what are the functions of electrolytes? There are the three main electrolytes in our serum, that is sodium, chloride, and potassium. Sodium is the most abundant extracellular fluid and it is a cation. It is involved in impulse transmission, muscle contraction, water balance, and it is controlled by aldosterone in the kidneys. The chloride ions is a major extracellular anion. It regulates osmotic pressure. It is involved in pH as they form HCl, and it is controlled by aldosterone. Now the potassium ions is the most abundant cation in intracellular fluid and it maintains fluid volume, impulse conduction, muscle contractions. Plays a role in regulating pH and it is controlled by aldosterone. Now, why is serum electrolyte test done? What is the importance of doing serum electrolyte test? As a part of preventive health checkup, to evaluate the cause of kidney disease, heart diseases like regular heartbeats or arrhythmias, muscular weakness. Then it is also analyzed to monitor the condition of patients on diuretic therapy, intravenous fluid or dialysis, and to monitor the hospitalized and seriously ill patients. So now that you know why is the serum electrolyte test done. Now, the methods of estimating serum electrolytes include two methods, that is the ion selective electrode or ISE method, which is the most commonly used method now, and it is more sensitive and specific. It requires small amount of sample. The flame photometer or the flame photometry method is an old method. It needed large volumes of sample and now it's replaced by the ISE method. Now let us see what is an ion selective electrode. It is an electrode that responds to a particular ion's activity and therefore it is called ion selective or ion sensitive electrode. It is abbreviated as ISE. The ISE method consists in the use of specific membranes which are sensitive to specific ions such as sodium or potassium. This methodology forms a potential difference in concentrations on each side of the membrane. In this system, two electrodes are used where the reference electrode has a constant potential. The selective electrode for the ion develops a voltage that varies with the sample concentration, which means different samples will have different concentrations of the ion and so there will be difference in potential accordingly. Thus, from difference between the potentials of reference electrode and the measuring electrode, the ion concentration in the sample is calculated and expressed by the Nernst equation. So this is the principle of ion selective electrode. Now, what are the components of ion selective electrode? Actually, it is an equipment. So it is made of uh, two things, that is ion selective membrane and a reference electrode solution. And the electrode can be of different types. It can be made of glass, solid state, gas or enzymes. So there are just two components in an ion selective electrode. One is the reference electrode and one is the ion selective membrane for a particular ion. Now, equipment working on the principle of ISE. Here are a few examples. The most common equipment that works on the principle of ISE is pH meter. followed by electrolyte analyzer, blood gas analyzer, fluoride ion meter. So these are a few equipments, examples which you will hear again and again during your course of study. So you must know that these equipments work on the principle of ISE, that is ion selective electrode. Now let us try to understand what exactly happens in ion selective electrode membrane. Now these are the two ions that we will be taking into consideration, which will the circular part is the potassium ion and the triangular part is the sodium ion, and these broken lines are selectively permeable membranes. So this is the first diagram, which is a compartment that is divided into two parts by a selectively permeable membrane. Now on the side A of the membrane there are more of potassium ions and less of sodium ions. This is seen on both the sides, but however even the number of ions are more on side A and number of ions are less on side B. So this is a state of disequilibrium, and thus side A has greater ionic concentration than side B, as you can see here. Now we'll see what the next picture has to show us. Now this membrane is permeable only to the potassium ions. So the potassium ions can go from this side to this side, but not the sodium ions. So because of this difference of ions, there is a potential difference that is created, and this ion is permeable only to the potassium ion. So it is selectively permeable. So potassium ions move from side B to side A because the membrane is impermeable to the sodium ions. Now, because of this difference in ions and the selective permeability, there is a potential difference that is caused because only selective ions can move across the membrane. And when it is compared to a standard electrode, then this potential difference which is generated will be measured in terms of millimoles per liter and expressed on the ion selective electrode equipment. So this is the whole principle or the mechanism by which ion selective electrode equipments will function. So this is how in the equipment it appears. If you open the equipment, you will see the inner part, the electrodes are like this. So it's there for sodium, potassium, calcium, pH, chloride, and there is a reference electrode with which they will be compared, and that is how from one sample all this can be found out. All the concentrations can be found out by single sample by comparing it to the reference electrode because it has a standard in it and the standard has known values of each of these ions. Now, how is the sample collection done for electrolyte analysis? As you can see here, this is a heparin vacuity. So it has heparin anticoagulant in it, and this is the plain vacuity, which has clot activator. Now, both these vacuotenors can be used for electrolyte analysis, and the sample is collected by venipuncture. Now this is a sodium potassium electrolyte analyzer reagent pack which has reagents for estimating sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, and on this side the pack details are written such as reference number, lot number, and the expiry date. Now this is the inside part of the sodium potassium analyzer which has three electrodes chloride, potassium, sodium, and reference electrode. This is the stainless steel probe which takes in the sample. This is the rotor through which the tube will deliver the sample to the electrodes. And then there is one more tube which will fill in the standard, with which there will be a comparison. Now we'll see how the equipment functions by demonstrating one serum sample. This is the knob which you have to put down which will help the probe to fix at 15 to 20 degrees. And now the serum sample will be filled in. The probe should not touch the blood cells. Now after filling, there will be some stabilization period during which the sample is processed. So here the processing is going on, and the serum sample is now being processed within the electrodes. As you know that the electrode for sodium will take in only sodium ions, and the electrode for chloride will be sensitive only for chlor chloride ions, and the electrode for potassium will be sensitive only for the potassium ions. Once the filling of sample is done, now there will be filling of standard, with which the results will be compared and calculated. So now again the stabilization period is going on with the standard, and after this is done, the result will be displayed on the screen. So here the result is being displayed on the screen. Let us look at the results. So sodium is 135 millimoles per liter, potassium is 3.96 millimoles per liter, whereas chloride is 98.2 millimoles per liter for this sample. Now this is the hind portion of the equipment where the reagent pack which was shown to you in the beginning is attached with all these tubes, and this is the cleaning solution which cleans the equipment after the sample analysis is done. Now the next equipment with which we can calculate serum electrolytes is flame photometer. This flame photometer is just like a colorimeter, but it is based on emission spectrophotometry. So the principle of flame emission spectrophotometry is that the sample is diluted in a lithium diluent and it is aspirated into a propane air flame. Sodium or potassium, when excited, they emit a spectrum which is selected using a filter and then detected on a photosensitive detector system. The amount of light emitted is proportional to the concentration of the ion present in the sample. So this is how it works. This is the place where the sample is there, and it is now added uh, into the sample delivery system. In the sample delivery system, whenever there is heat provided, the ions present in the sample will emit certain wavelengths. These wavelengths will fall upon the lens, and it will be um, measured by the photodetector, and it will be amplified, and it will be displayed on the digital displayer. So the major components of a digital flame photometer is a sampler delivery system, a source, a monochromator, detector, and readout device. So the last three are exactly like the colorimeter. So now let us look at the clinical significance of measuring serum electrolytes. So let us look at this. These are the various electrolytes, and like sodium, the reference range is 136 to 145 millimoles per liter. If the value raises above 145, it is hypernatremia, and it is caused in dehydration, kidney disease, hypercortisolism, to name a few. And if it is below 136, then it is hyponatremia, and it is seen in fluid overload, liver disease, or adrenal insufficiency. Now, as far potassium ions are concerned, the normal range is 3.5 to 5 millimoles per liter. If the values are above the higher range limit, that is above 5 millimoles per liter, it is called hyperkalemia, and it is seen in dehydration, kidney disease, adrenal insufficiency, crush injuries. On the other hand, if the values are lower than 3.5 millimoles per liter, it is hypokalemia, and it is seen in fluid overload, diuretic therapy, alkalosis, and hyperaldosteronism. Calcium ions normal range is 9 to 11 milligrams per deciliter. Values above 11 milligrams is stated as hypercalcemia, and it is generally seen in hyperthyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, to name a few. Hypocalcemia, on the other hand, is values below 9 milligrams per deciliter, and it is seen in hypothyroidism, hypoparathyroidism, vitamin D deficiency, and kidney disease. Magnesium ion normal range is 0.65 to 1 millimoles per liter. A higher value than 1 millimoles is hypermagnesemia, and it is seen in alcoholism, ketoacidosis, adrenal insufficiency, and kidney disease. And a value below 6.5 millimoles per liter is hypomagnesemia, and it is seen in malnutrition, alcoholism, ketoacidosis. Chloride ion normal range is 98 to 106 millimoles per liter. A value above 106 millimoles per liter of chloride in any sample is hyperchloremia, and which is seen in metabolic acidosis, respiratory alkalosis, and hypercorticosolism. Hypochloremia, on the other hand, is a value below 98 millimoles per liter, seen in fluid overload, excessive vomiting or diarrhea, adrenal insufficiency, diuretic therapy. Phosphate, the normal range is 3 to 4.5 milligrams per deciliter. A value higher than 4.5 milligrams is known as hyperphosphatemia, seen in kidney disease, hypoparathyroidism, acidosis, hypocalcemia. And hypophosphatemia is seen in vitamin D deficiency, chronic antacid use, hypercalcemia, hyperparathyroidism, malnutrition, and alcoholism. So these were the significance of abnormal values, and this is why we need to measure the sodium, potassium, or serum electrolytes in various conditions. And that is why it's important for you to know all the reference ranges, the elevated and the low causes of elevated and low ions, and the method by which it is estimated. Now, how is the regulation of serum electrolyte level done? So, sodium is regulated by aldosterone, and antidiuretic hormone by water regulation. Atrial natriuretic peptide also plays a role in sodium regulation, and they control renal reabsorption and renal excretion. Potassium ions are regulated by intestinal absorption apart from the hormone aldosterone, and it is also controlled by renal reabsorption. As far as calcium is concerned, it is controlled by parathyroid hormone, calcitonin, and by renal reabsorption. Magnesium ions are also controlled by intestinal and renal intestinal absorption and renal reabsorption, whereas the chloride ions are controlled by the same mechanism, that is intestinal absorption and renal reabsorption. Let us look at the control of fluid balance. So what exactly is seen here? Let us see the mechanism. There are three hormones mainly included. One is the antidiuretic hormone, along with it the osmoreceptors and the thirst mechanism. Now the osmoreceptors in hypothalamus regulate the secretion of ADH from the posterior pituitary. Higher the osmolality, the more the ADH is secreted. ADH causes the thirst center to be stimulated and the kidneys to conserve the water. Aldosterone, on the other hand, is secreted by the adrenal cortex. It causes the kidneys to retain sodium and stimulated by increased potassium, falling sodium, and renin-angiotensin. So whenever there is increased potassium or there is decreased sodium and renin-angiotensin, aldosterone will be stimulated. Now the third is atrial natriuretic peptide, which is also known as ANP. It is released by distended atrial walls of the heart. The secretion is caused by increased pressure and or volume, and it is antagonistic to aldosterone. So it plays the opposite role of aldosterone. So this is how there is control of ions and fluid balance in our body. Now these are a few questions. What is an ISE and flame photometer? Write the principle of each. What is hypokalemia and hyperkalemia? Mention the normal levels of sodium, potassium and chloride ions. What is hyponatremia and hypernatremia? Explain the effects of aldosterone on sodium and potassium homeostasis. Mention the role of antidiuretic. So I hope you liked what I said. So for more videos, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon. Thank you.